When looking for a topic for my commentary, I couldn't look past the Schrodinger's elephants in the room. Many of you would have heard of Schrodinger's cat or this thought experiment where a cat, a radioactive material, and a flask of poison is placed inside a box. On the decay of the radioactive material, the flask explodes and kills the cat. Um, Copenhagen interpretation implies that the cat is both simultaneously alive and dead after a point of time. But we all know that in reality it isn't possible. Just a paradox explaining where quantum superposition ends and reality collapses into a possibility of, in this case, just being alive or dead. Such uncertainty we do see in everyday life, and in fact, there are so many pressing issues that are so huge that it's frankly hard to miss these elephants in the room. I'll be listing a few such Schrodinger's elephants I witness on a day. So recently, I got an emergency alert on my mobile. It was regarding curfew in my city. So living in Seattle downtown, like I've kind of become used to the sirens from all the emergency vehicles, But that day was totally different. There was like loud noises, like there were too many sirens, and I could also hear chants of people shouting Black Lives Matter. That's when I knew the protests had entered my city. So you might have heard of the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, where a police officer knelt on an African American man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, while he repeatedly cried, "I can't breathe," and begged for his life. This time, there was chilling evidence in the form of a video. Since this incident happened, many people, irrespective of race, have acknowledged that this Schrodinger's elephant, racism, is alive and started protesting systemic racism and oppression. Result of this acknowledgement so far, there's been justice for similar deaths with charges on police officers involved, um, affirmative public policies, police reforms, laws like ban on chokehold, are some progress towards an egalitarian society. Simultaneously, there are people who claim that racism is dead, it's something of the past. Some reason that unless they experienced it, they can't accept that it exists. As far as this happens, racism will continue to be as uncertain as the life of the Schrodinger's cat. Juneteenth or June 19th. It's celebrated as the end of slavery in the US since 1865. But with such incidents as these, have African Americans truly achieved freedom? There are inherent biases at public policy level, organizational level, and even individual level. In fact, you don't realize the biases and stereotypes until this movement has forced a change at how corporations think. Many companies are finally rebranding food products that had faced decades of criticism about perpetuating racial stereotypes. Johnson and Johnson recently announced that it will include brown and black skin tones for band-aids to embrace racial diversity. Industries are abandoning decades-old coding terms to remove references to slavery and to promote inclusion. GitHub, world's biggest code hosting site for software developers, is working towards renaming master branch to main branch. Google's Chromium and Android encourage avoiding terms like blacklist and whitelist that reinforce the notion that black is bad and white is good, and instead are calling for racially neutral language such as block list and allow list in place of these terms. Recently, NBA star LeBron James shared a CCTV footage. If you look at this video, there's a kid casually playing with a basketball, and on hearing a police car pull up, naturally just hides behind a car and waits till the police car passes the street and then starts playing again. This fear shouldn't be normal. It's good that people like LeBron James, who have a platform, do speak out about issues in society. Much to the contrary of many people's opinion that NBA players should just shut up and dribble. Both perpetrators and victims of racism have learned to live with it, that it has become normalized. In fact, video games like GTA 5 have been called out for racial profiling by police, even in the game. Players have observed that police reacted aggressively to Franklin, a young African American character, more times than they did with non African American characters. I noticed that video games could silently expose us to such biases and influence our opinions. Many childhood favorites have had like biases and stereotypes embedded within the game. The thing with analyzing Schrodinger's elephants is that, like dominoes of perception, once you start looking, you happen to unravel them in every nook and corner. And we shouldn't just be reacting to such events as murder, but rather proactively address these Schrodinger's elephants. Excessive violence and cruelty have been normalized by video games, and its effects have been highly debated. I'd like to talk about another issue that hasn't had that much attention: biased depiction of women. Another Schrodinger's elephant is based on whom you ask, it simultaneously exists and doesn't. Many games have female characters donning high heels, skimpy, unprotective body armor, in contrast to the male characters. This is just use of women as mere eye candy to cater to and satisfy the male voyeuristic gaze. Sexualization and objectification of women could negatively influence a young mind. Underrepresentation of women, or even a damsel in distress sort of depiction, like Super Mario's plot to save the princess in the end, is pretty common in video games these days. Such video games would have been a source of fun for many of us during childhood, but we might need to reassess them with unconditioning. Like elephants, some forms of oppression have long term memory and still seem to prevail. I can draw a lot of parallels from racism, such as casteism, communalism, even obsession with fair skin. The effects of such lead to heartbreaking news such as manhole deaths, communal lynching and riots, or worrisome ads for fairness creams that subtly suggest dark skin to be inferior or less attractive. Initial reaction, if you're not a victim of oppression, is doubt about the existence of such Schrodinger's elephants. Or even worse, another Schrodinger's elephant, apathy. Irrespective of political leaning, religion, caste, creed, race, or gender, I believe being sensitive to the plight of the downtrodden is a basic responsibility of everyone. The existence of the downtrodden implies unjust appropriation of wealth or resources or access at all levels due to systemic oppression, and apathy is not visible. Apathy can creep in so subtly that we may be unaware of it. That's what makes it so dangerous. In recent news, coronavirus has made deaths just seem like numbers to us. We may be writing off the plight of migrant workers as just a side effect of a hard problem, such as a pandemic in a highly populous country such as ours. When there's apathy, it's easier to convince that even unnecessary sacrifice is needed for progress. Appalling inaction, like those policemen who stood around as George Floyd was choked to death by their kneeling colleague, just being neutral at times of crisis. That's apathy. These Schrodinger's elephants are basically some form of oppression or the other that thrives on apathy. When one of NFL's most exciting stars, Colin Kaepernick, kneeled during the US national anthem in protest of social injustice and police brutality way back in 2016, he was sidelined from playing in the NFL. Unfortunately, that kneeling wasn't enough to start a movement for social justice. Another kneeling, one involving murder, had to be the one for starting the Black Lives Matter movement. I would like to end with a silver lining from this tumultuous cloud. The commissioner of the NFL has recently said that he supports and encourages teams to sign Colin Kaepernick 4 years after his sidelining in 2016, and even admitted that the league was wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier. This is good news for the moment, but wouldn't it have been better if there was prevention instead of cure?